Let's see. I'll tell you when it's live. It's like a little delay. It's probably live now, actually. Okay, it's live.
Cool. For the record, this milk stout's actually really nice. It's like a very strong Guinness. It's like 5% or something. It's nice.
You're making me want to grab a beer. I ate too many yesterday.
Well, you know, hair of the dog and all that. You got to get back on it to feel better.
Yeah. I almost wanted to go grab me a red beer. I'm not sure if in England you guys are familiar with red beers.
No.
It's a beer mixed with tomato juice, clamato spices, and a little bit of hot sauce in there. That helps cure it. Well,
really? We've got the is it Bloody Mary? We sometimes have that with a stick of celery in it.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think it's like V8 juice or something.
Yeah, that's good for a hangover. When I went over to Mexico a couple of years ago, to oh goodness, is it Riviera Maya? And I just thought it was brilliant the way you could sort of go into like a shop that sells magazines or whatever, and every one of them seemed to sell like the little sort of Coca-Cola 330ml size bottles of beer, Sol or what was the other one? Corona, obviously.
Modelo, they have Modelo, Carta Blanca. Those are some.
Yeah, Modelo Negro is that's quite strong, but I really like it.
Mm.
It's nice. I just love that because we were there one day, and I think Lisa and Hollywood went to the beach or whatever, and I was like, right, I'm going to go and pick up a magazine or a newspaper or something, So I just walked down to like this little corner shop that sold these things, and it was just so awesome just to go in, grab a beer. It was something stupid like 10:30 in the morning or something, and just sort of stroll back, and it was lovely and warm, and you just sort of down in these little cans, these little sort of almost like novelty sized cans of beer. You just don't get it over it. They're like 550ml cans over it.
Yeah.
But it was really nice. But so I suppose we better talk about literature, haven't we? Well, welcome to the beer show with Manuel Tapia, Will Marchese. Is Will there? Has he gone?
Well, that's something we do. At least I do as a writer. I try to make sure I'm drinking something. I guess in the spirits of I guess Hemingway and all the other lushes who made it out.
Well, that's it. Yeah, absolutely. Last week I was on a podcast with I don't know if you've heard of them, Leo X Robertson. He was in the Monsters Exists anthology. I was on his podcast with Madeline. Oh, she's gonna hate me for forgetting her surname. But yeah, they were sort of talking about they're both basically teetotal, and it was a video sort of podcast, so we were all sort of videoing each other. And it came to me, and like Madeline was like, "Yeah, I'm teetotal. I don't drink anymore." Leo was like, "Yeah, I don't drink anymore." And then it sort of came to me, and I had a bottle of beer in my hand. It was like 12 o'clock or something, in the afternoon. I was like, "Yep, there's me drinking a beer." Yep. No, I do like that. I don't like getting really, really drunk, but I do like, like that feeling of being mildly inebriated. When you just feel sort of you lose your inhibitions and your tongue loosens a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And that's what my fiance and I were doing yesterday, and the good times just kept rolling all the way until pretty late. So
those are the best nights, though, aren't they? Really.
What's that?
Those are the best nights when that happens. When you don't go out expecting it to be that way, and it sort of gets that way.
So sadly, we've dedicated most of our morning to recovery from last night.
Brilliant.
Weekend.
All right, so we have 7 viewers. I'm just gonna put out this advertisement real fast. We got Kelly Evans, the Mordecai, right? The Mordecai. I believe carne means like meat, so it's like mort probably derives from something like a mortician or something.
Death, is it? Death meat or something, or
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe that. Yeah, I mean, Carney is definitely meat.
Yeah.
This is the first book. The second book is coming out, and I'm going to try to have links to everything after this is up and not live, you know. But definitely pick that up right now.
I'd be interested to know, actually, if you don't mind me just sort of sorry, go on. I was just going to say, I won't mind actually knowing when that second book is out. I just realised I don't even know when she's going to sort of put it out there.
I think
and isn't there a special appearance by Mr. Buller in the second one as well?
Yeah, and Will. I think Will's in it. I Get Killed, I believe.
Oh, man. Really?
Yeah.
I'm excited.
I don't know why. I think she just loves me, you know?
It's probably everything in the chat room when we do in the chat.
Yeah, I think so.
So let me just see. So yeah, you know, pick up a copy of that, and now we're gonna get to Manuel, Mr. Tapia. Let me just pull up his.
In fact, I'm just going to quickly share the link for this as well. One sec. If I can find it.
Am I the only one hearing an echo?
I was gonna say, should I search for a cricket sound?
Yeah, the number of listeners is dropping from 7, 6, 5. Here we go. Oh, here we are. Yeah, so I'll just share it now. It's shared. So can I sort of dive in a little bit and just ask Manuel, Hindered Souls Press, how did it come about?
It came about it originally started because I had a shoulder surgery, and I was supposed to get put out for about 3 months out of work. So I was excited to have a lot more time to write. And with coming across all the literary magazines and everybody I was looking to submit, I kept noticing that a lot of them were just asking these ridiculous guidelines. You know, they had readers' fees, and you know, half the time they didn't promise a response unless you were accepted. They wanted exclusive submissions. So I said, you know, I'm gonna jump in and do an experimental anthology. You know, open submissions to anybody and everybody, with no readers' fees, and just to get a taste of it all. And so that's where Hindered Souls, Dark Tales for Dark Nights came, and which I'm proud to have you gentlemen in there as well.
Well, I was saying on I think it might be the first podcast, you were sort of like a bit of a catalyst for sort of a lot of the things that sort of came after. The whole sort of, you know, me getting to know Will and getting on the Twitter, and it all came from Hindered Souls. And it was the first experience I think I'd had of someone critiquing my work properly, you know, and sending edits back, you know, which he did. And it was like, wow, this is the first sort of feeling that I had of working with someone professional almost, if you know what I mean.
Or good at bullshitting and acting like they were professional.
yeah. But it's a fantastic anthology, and obviously I'm not just saying that because you're on. It's still like got pride of place on my shelf, and it's one of the few anthologies that I'm in that I've sort of read cover to cover. So yeah, no, it's really
definitely
good.
fun putting it together, and especially all the friendships and everything that have come out of it, you know.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And so after that, I had Sugar Skulls ready, and I started shopping that around, and I was receiving offers that were offering me 30% royalties while they split 70% between you know, the formatter and the cover and all those little details.
Yeah.
And the worst part was that most of the time, the few offers I received for Sugar Skulls, they all said, you know what, you know, you're going to have to be the mule. You're going to have to be the one that does most of the marketing and try to get yourself out there. So in my mind, I was thinking, so I'm going to pay you lion's share just to publish the book, to format it, and that's it. And I have to do this work. So it took a lot of thought and everything to decide whether or not I was going to create Hindered Souls Press. And finally we did. And last year we started off with my novella and then put out Sugar Skulls just to try to start getting some stuff. And then we opened up submissions in November. It was fun. Ended up taking on A.A. Medina from Aphotic Realm. He has his novella Siphon. We just released that in February.
The one I keep misspelling.
Yeah, with a Y.
Yeah.
As soon as you correct the Y, you'll probably start. Instead of using the PH, you'll use the F, so it'll be SIFON.
I was going to say, how did you transition from the anthology to the sort of doing the whole sort of press? You know, doing the whole novellas and the novels and stuff. What was the connection there?
Just the whole history and the roots of kind of I like to call it kind of rebel anthology, rebel literature. People that can't find homes because their work is a little more risque, and definitely going against the grain of what people are trying to do. I see as them taking advantage of writers, you know, and especially in the indie world, we're all struggling and doing this more as a passion than anything. So HSP, that's what we're trying to do, is taking on our authors and letting them know, you know what, we're all going to struggle, but we're going to do it together, and we're gonna try to make a dent in the way people view the world and all the sugar-coated nonsense that's out there as well.
Yeah, I mean, you know,
a question from Miss Kelly.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
sorry, Kelly. How you doing? Have you or would you consider another less horror-related genre, i.e. romance? I'd probably say I wouldn't be able to. I'm not too familiar with the romance genre, so I feel like I would be doing a disservice to any of the authors that's their milieu.
I suppose it's got to be something you got a passion for, isn't it? I wouldn't know a good romance novel if it hit me in the face, you know, because I don't really read that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I'd more know horror. But I think it's good that you're sort of acting for the indie writer there, because there's so many people who are indie writers that, like you said, don't get much love from the mainstream presses because, you know, they don't write in a certain style, or they're not literary enough, or they're not just another Stephen King clone. So to have Hindered Souls Press there to sort of represent the sort of, I don't know, the semi-pro author, I suppose, or the sort of aspiring semi-pro author. It's really sort of it's a really good thing.
Yeah, and we definitely take into account the work that goes into just writing the work in the first place, and that's the hardest part, I believe. I learned how to format and everything, and get all the details worked out on the actual publishing aspect. But so our biggest thing is, not only are we going to struggle alongside with our authors to get all of our names out there, but offering them the lion's share of what we're able to make.
So is that part of your sort of mission statement almost? You give a higher percentage to the author than everyone else. Like you said, it was 70-30. Did you say traditionally?
No, we're doing 60-40. What I was offered was 70-30, where I received the 30%, and that was my novel from other presses, and that's where I just found it completely ridiculous.
Yeah.
It would be something different if it was a traditional publishing house, that has the power to actually make you some living off of it. But when it's indie, I mean,
yeah, exactly. Because the traditional places, you get like pretty much nothing out of each book, but they have like you said, they can push you all around the world, and it's gonna be more sales, so you're gonna be seeing more, pretty much. But when I was looking at over an overall look, the overall picture of Hindered Souls Press, like I just think everything just fits in. Like I don't see anything that's out of the ordinary, and it's like, I mean, when you say risque, you mean like it's just something that's disgusting, or because I don't think horror really has any. I mean, as you could be, a nerd, right, and then your stories could be like rip 'em up, disgusting, cursing everywhere. It's just. I guess what your passion is, what you write, like what's going to come out, your subgenre, I guess, in the horror.
Yeah, we're definitely looking not just for one type of horror. We actually, I like to say dark fiction, because I feel like dark fiction is more of a broad type of description, where it can be bizarro, it can be transgress, it can be.
It's like Sugar Skulls. When I read that, I didn't have. Well, when I listened to it, obviously I've got the paperback as well. But when I listened to it, it wasn't. It didn't come across as horror to me. It was very dark, though.
Exactly. And I kind of did that as well to get us out there to show last year, to show that we were going to be publishing different. With different subjects and different aspects of the actual stories. So you take Sci-Fi Experiment was really I've heard it described as extreme horror, gore horror.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Compared to Sugar Skulls, it was more of a. I felt Sugar Skulls was a lot more of a just dark story, delving into the. Different cultures and their afterlife and the way they
I found I found it fascinating, the old sort of I found this with some of your stories, they delve quite deep into sort of Mexican sort of would you say heritage, Mexican tradition, in the way of the Mexican sort of viewpoint. And in Sugar Skulls you sort of take that sort of Mexican backdrop, and you take, the whole thing with death and questions about is it 7? No, 9. Is it 9 layers of nine layers? You go through you go through the 9 layers of death, and you got this sort of face off between the main character, and you got death there in front of him. And I just thought, it took me about, in audiobook terms, it took me about an hour to get into it, and then once I was into it, you had me really sort of hooked. And I sort of listened through it all the way through, and like I say, I didn't think it was horror in that I was scared listening to it. I just thought it was a fascinating sort of dark take on death. So everyone in the horror genre is interested in death, right? That's the ultimate fear, isn't it? You're going to die, and you don't know what happens when you die necessarily.
Yeah.
And with Sugar Skulls, it sort of addressed that a little bit, and I like the way you took little sections, and each one was sort of representative of these sort of different layers of these 9 layers. It's a really, really good book, and a brilliant one to sort of a brilliant novel to sort of kick off. Obviously, you did the Di-Fi first, but it's a very good introduction to Hindered Souls Press.
Yeah, I mean the Di-Fi, I love that. I mean that story was great. I don't think it's too extreme. I think it's on the, if anything, if you want to say it's on par with like Saw movies, but I think that it's still like it was done tastefully, I mean, that's just horror. I mean, Sugar Skulls, when I was reading it, I was saying this is more psychological. This is like you said, it's thoughts on life. I know Dean Koontz used to do that a lot. When a lot of his stories, he'd always be discussing death, and it's just something that horror writers think about because it's the ultimate, our ultimate destination.
It's definitely always almost a common denominator. I mean, because that's one of the ultimate. That's one of the things that are inescapable in life is death. We're going to meet it one day.
Yeah.
Can I just ask, Sugar Skulls, was it? How long was it in the making? How long was it? When did you first sort of get the spark to start it off?
I actually started Sugar Skulls as a short story. It was supposed to be a short story of a reporter interviewing death, and that was maybe, man, we published that last year, so about 2014 I started, and it just started taking this life of its own where so many details had stories behind them, and there were so many questions that I was finding myself while writing it that I needed to answer and get into more detail and explain, and it just kind of exploded into a novel. Once I got it over 100 pages, I really, it really started taking form, and it took me a lot of editing and whatnot. Once I had it done, I paid for an editor who completely poked my eyes, took advantage of me, but
oh gosh,
that's neither here nor there, because it ended up getting some attention even before I published it through HST. So yeah, about 3 years.
Wow. One of the reasons I asked was there was an anthology a couple of years ago called The Death of All Things, and it was where death was a main character, and I created a story for it and submitted it, but it was rejected. But the start of it sort of reminded me of. So it was a very, very similar. Obviously, it didn't involve the Mexican folklore and the Mexican heritage and all that. It was set in a hospital, but it was a man talking to death in a very similar way, and it just sort of reminded me of the beginning of the story where you're sort of establishing the characters. It reminded me of that, and I know that you've submitted for things in the past that I've done, and they've become stories for other sort of venues. But I was just intrigued if that was maybe one of the ones that you were shooting for.
No, I don't remember that one. I wish I would have though. I don't remember seeing that one.
But it might not become what it did. That's the thing, and it's a very good story.
Yeah.
I quite like. This isn't a Manuel Tapia Fat Fest, by the way, but I kind of like the writing style in it. You have a certain style, and I don't even know if you do it. In you sort of emphasize things. You use repetition quite effectively. I think I might was it in Monsters Exist where you gave me one of the Chupacabra story to sort of go through, and I sort of pointed out repetition on it.
Yeah.
I can't remember that, but I've sort of obviously read a couple of your stories and you use it really. It's part of your style. It's you repeat images and you repeat sometimes emphasize points.
Yeah.
But it's sort of dry. So it's sort of like the punctuation mark to an idea that you're driving at, which is pretty cool.
I like to do. One of the reasons with that is I like to my stories, I feel like, are usually for the most part not so linear. They kind of bounce around from back to forth. But one of the reasons I use the repetition, and I try to do it with some of the main points and drive those home, and make everything revolve around those. Just like any music, any song has its chorus. So exactly, I try to kind of, I guess, mimic that in a storytelling manner where it's the chorus to the story.
And it's unique, man. It's your signature that I could tell. If we all submitted another anthology blind and I had to read all the stories in it, I could tell a Manuel Tapia story from the rest of them. just simply by the way simply by the I don't mean that negatively, but just simply by the way you write it.
Mm-hmm.
And like the way like you say you emphasize things.
Like his voice comes through.
Well, yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah. So the horrible woman has a question.
Did see that.
Yeah.
Hello, woman.
I think her name is Ree. It's not easy to find that name. I did a lot of searching, but I think it's
Stalker.
Yeah.
You're
gonna end up with a restraining order after the show.
Exactly. We had her on the Dead Man's Tome podcast before.
And she actually read your story number 7 too, right?
She did a great job too. But ever since then, I was like, I want to get her name because I felt so impersonal when I'm like replying to her on Twitter and everything. But her question is, where do you want to take your audience in your stories?
My thing with my stories, as well as any future work that comes through Hindered Souls Press, through other authors, is we want to give. Ultimately, you want to give your readers a different outlook. I was saying I want to be able to point out the sugar-coated stuff that's out there that people like to try to hide of the world. So I'd like to open people's eyes to certain things and disturb them at the same time. Because in reality, reality is more disturbing than any fiction you can really find. At the end of the day.
Oh, totally. Jack Ketchum sort of demonstrates with some of his stuff. It's all in the real world. Or most of it is.
It is. The Girl Next Door, that was based on a true story, and
that was
story. I've read into that, and that's, man, to imagine that truly happening, it's just completely disturbing.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Horror has it's true. It's the truth in life, pretty much. Anything that you read out there, even the most horrific stories, there's like worse things happening out in like parts like unknown. Like maybe there's actually an island where it's just like a tribe and nobody can go in there. There's places in the middle of America where people do things people don't know about. You go down there, you might disappear. They made movies off of that, like The Hills Have Eyes and Texas Chainsaw Massacre. But there's some atrocious stuff happening in the world, and I think that it's just a representation of it. Horror.
It's like I had a story published through Schlock, which isn't easy, and I think that's out of England as well. But and I was touching that up, and I believe Marchese, yeah, you went through it recently. One of the things I learned while writing that story was that I don't know which states specifically within the USA allow this. I know that there are a few that allow, if a man were to rape a woman and that woman ends up becoming pregnant and giving birth to the baby, there's a few states in the union that allow that to fight for parental rights, which is, to me, that's crazy.
That allows the father to fight for parental rights.
And he, like, if like I said, if a man ended up raping a woman and she got pregnant, and he would have the right to fight for parental rights and
oh my god,
everything, which I think is completely disturbing. It'd be rough on the woman.
Yeah,
but I can't remember specifically. But that's another thing I'd like to do too is have stories with substance. You're going to learn something from it, at least whether it's on a small scale or on a large scale. You're gonna treating it, be disturbed, see things differently, and learn a little bit.
What about you, Will? Where do you want to take your readers?
Just pretty much just the truths in life. You don't want to touch too much on certain truths, because then you it's going to look like you're preaching about one subject. So you want to try to represent a lot of different views and opinions and I guess ways of life and things like that. But I want to take people to things that aren't stuck in certain time periods, like just things you think about when you close your eyes and you're just like by yourself, like at night, sleep before you fall asleep. You know, you're just thinking about this and that, things like that. You know, it's hard to represent those in stories, but it's something that everybody can relate to pretty much. Any walk of life, you know, any race, anything.
Yeah. I mean, since I had Porcelain Skin published in Unnerving, it's the first time I've kind of had feedback of people I don't know. You know, well, I've had feedback of people I don't know when we've done anthologies like Monsters Exist, when you have reviewers. But it's the first time people have come to me out of the blue, you know, and come and tweeted me and sort of mentioned my story and stuff. And I think that's kind of nice, you know, and it's nice when you hear them sort of say, like one of the guys said, something along the lines of, "I'm not letting my kids have dolls again." You know, it's about dolls. And then someone else said, I can't remember, someone else said something about they really enjoyed this specific story in the anthology. And I didn't know this guy from Adam, you know, and I think that sort of is nice. And when someone feels compelled to sort of search you out, which is what I do when I read a story that I really enjoy. You know, you search that person out, you say, "I enjoyed your story," you know.
Yeah.
And when it happens to you, especially from people that you don't know, that's when you sort of think, "Oh, actually, I've done quite good with that one," you know. It's not just like a friend or, you know, someone out of kindness saying, you know, like for example, if either of you guys posted, "I really enjoyed this," but obviously I believe what you were saying, but you know, it's I think when a complete stranger comes and says it, I think it means more. It means that perhaps you've gained a new reader, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. And they say you build them one at a time.
And it's scary at the same time too, because it's humbling, you know, just seeing someone else that you're not used to receiving any feedback, give you feedback on it, and then so it's humbling and it's gives you a sense of pride. But maybe just for me, but there's also that point where like, oh man, like someone how you said don't know is actually reading my work. Do I even deserve doing it? And
yeah, you're creating like feelings in their mind that you know maybe something totally different than what you had in mind.
I see Kelly had a question about how far is too far with regard to says your horror writing. I'm guessing it's toward all of us, or maybe I'm not sure, but either way. Is anything taboo? And I feel like right now I haven't personally pushed it too far. The story I'm working on right now that I plan on hopefully making it and turning it into a novel. We'll see. You know, sometimes the story takes a life of its own on regards to length, but that one is going to be the furthest I've pushed so far, and it's been
wow.
It's called Leathered Angels.
Oh, okay.
And
Nice.
The premise I have working for it is there's a town with a 0% divorce rate, so you know everybody's all happy, but underneath it's all because everybody's going to this man and woman that they have no idea who they are. They just, and I still have to work out a lot of details. It's definitely a fresh progress, but at the end of the day, it's extreme BDSM and, you know, pretty much torture sex that gets them to a happy spot where they can live comfortably with their marriage, and it just ends up being this nice little town on the surface.
Is it like a like brainwashing, or like an Invasion of the Body Snatchers sort of thing, where they're like they have to have this rough sex to stay like?
No, it's gonna be more of a, how can I say, just this undertone where everybody happens to and everybody knows that everybody else is doing it, but they're being hush about it because, you know, once you expose someone, if you expose someone that's doing the same thing that you are, it's all
and in some ways, you know, that is more scarier than, say, aliens or, you know, some sort of overriding influence. That's frightening. That's because you know, it's something that might happen. You know what I mean?
And plus, it's dealing with like our inner fears and things that are in our, you know, everyday lives, like our head, what we're thinking about, and stuff like that. And,
But yeah, as far as Taboo and everything, there's definitely some moments in Siphon that push the boundary, and I've had fun reading a lot of the reviews that kind of mention it, and and it makes me happy thinking of them squirming.
Oh man, Siphon is the Siphon's my next audiobook credit purchase. I need to actually listen to it.
It's fun. That performance was great. I had fun with Ted Brooks narrated it, and he did an awesome job.
Yeah.
But, Eat the Rich, you have it on there on the screen right now.
Oh yeah.
That one's definitely fun as well. Renee Miller did great with that.
Renee Miller's such a sorry interrupting.
And that's not out yet, right? It's coming out.
It'll be out in July.
Okay.
Renee Miller is just such a good writer. She's fantastic. I first came across one of her stories in, not literally, I came across one of her stories in Deadlights issue 1. She had something in there, and it was like, I think it was like my favourite story in the issue. And I've sort of seen, obviously, and I think Unnerving have published her as well, and she's quite prolific with her writing. She's got Church, which is a really good novel. And I'm really looking forward to reading what she's done for HSP.
I had fun. I was very honored to have her submit even, and once I read it, it was just a no-brainer. Great writer. And then in December we have Leo X Robertson coming out with Jesus of Scumberg. That one definitely pushes some taboo issues. You guys have read Leo before, and he's definitely fearless, and I love that about him.
He mentioned that, and I don't know if he'll actually make the final edits. He edits his podcast. He's professional, unlike me and Will.
Yeah.
I suppose it isn't a live show, but he mentioned that he had something in sort of on the cards, and it was a bit sort of typical of his sort of work, a bit sort of pushing boundaries a little bit.
It was, it'll make certain skins itch.
Yeah.
It was a fun read, and I'm excited to begin working on that. The edits and everything is pretty much done, but we just we're gonna start working on the cover soon. With Medina's doing the cover on that as well. He did his own Siphon and Eat the Rich, and with it being a punk rock theme, the Jesus of Scumberg and Medina growing up in the punk rock scene, he was in his own band and everything. I'm excited to see what they do with the cover for this one.
Yeah, I was thinking the next time. I'm not actually working on any sort of longer works. I'm just concentrating on the shorter stuff now. But I'd love to maybe next year do a novella or something a little bit longer. I was thinking if I ever do that sort of thing, or when it comes to doing it, for the cover art, I think I'd go for the same guy who did my Mechanisms of Despair one. Sean Langley. He's done work for Marvel and stuff. He's a really good artist. And I can understand why you wouldn't want to use that sort of comic book style, but. I suppose some authors have their favourite or publishers rather have their favourite sort of go-tos, but I'd definitely go to him again. I think he's a really talented sort of artist.
Yeah, Mechanisms of Despair, that cover was a gorgeous piece of work right there.
Yeah, I've got it here, the original.
You had in there as well.
Yeah. So Gary, how about you? What's taboo for you? What's going too far?
Oh goodness. I think I'm probably more taboo on Twitter than I am in my stories. to be honest, I used to have this little thing in the back of my mind that maybe it held me back. I don't know, but I used to think that when I wrote, if my parents couldn't read it, or I'd feel embarrassed by my parents reading it, then it wouldn't make it onto the page in the first place. So I've never really pushed any sort of sexual boundaries or anything like that in terms of the literature that I've written, because I always feel quite uncomfortable with it. So I think in terms of my writing, I think the most taboo I've probably gone is I don't know, cannibalism maybe, something like that. Yeah, it's a hard question thinking about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's me personally. I don't think there's any boundaries. I think if you can describe the most disgusting thing, and if you do it in a way that's just like showing and not like actually just saying, oh, he, I don't want to say anything really bad, but let's just say he stabbed the girl, right? Now you can say he stabbed the girl, and you get a picture of that. But if you actually show it without actually saying it, it's sort of like making a movie. I don't think there's any real boundaries. But one thing that I do kind of shy away with, is sort of like the same as Stephen King, is like the death of children. I just don't like if it has to be in the story, you hint at it. But it's something that's I don't want to really see.
And it's tough when you have kids. I know
exactly.
both you gentlemen have kids of your own as well, so that definitely steps up the level of it drops the comfort there.
Yeah. Because I don't know if you guys do this. Sometimes I'll write a story, and until I've sort of when I'm trying to develop a character, I might base it loosely on a member of my family or someone that I know, and sometimes I'll substitute their name and I'll put their name in. I'll call it Manuel. Manuel did this and blah blah. Or I write a story, and I did it with my daughters for there's a submission that I've been working on for the HWA, and I used my daughter's name in it at first. And Lisa, sort of my other half, sort of read over my shoulder. She's like, "What's this about? What's this about?" You know what I mean? And I was like, "Hang on a minute." I said, for starters, it's this story's for sort of mid graders, so it's not extreme anyway. But at the end, I'll substitute a name out. It's just so I can sort of draw feeling upon what it'd be like for my daughter to go through that sort of experience.
Yeah.
And if that makes me uncomfortable from that sort of perspective, then I'm not going to put a name in it because her end's not very good. But it just sort of, and then at the end I'll just sort of change her name to something else, which I have done. But I don't know if you guys do that.
The funny thing is how you were saying having, especially when I remember when I started writing. I mean, you're the only audience you have are your friends, is your family that would read any of the work. So it was definitely hard to push the boundaries there, and you definitely keep them in mind. Where as to not, the more that we've worked and gone out there a little more, it's kind of easier to push the boundaries. I see Dustin left a comment saying he'd be ashamed if his mom were reading it or something. So my next, I seen someone put up write like your family is not going to read your. It was some along those lines. That made sense.
You really have to. I mean, because if you're thinking about who's gonna, say what and who's gonna say this and that, I just have to be honest to like what life is, what you feel would really happen in life. Like I have a story. I totally forgot what it was. Gary read it about this boy who sees his father in the mirror. I was gonna make it like a little girl.
I think I read that one as well.
Yeah, and it just got too close to comfort, and I said, let me just change this to a little boy, and it still is for me it's very emotional still, but it's I didn't want that to be the girl. I don't want to have a little girl in that. It's because it's not nothing horrific happens to the character. It's just it's sad once you realize what the whole thing is about. So yeah, I changed it to a little boy, and it was sort of like, I guess I could say myself. I'm picturing how I would be, in that situation instead of having my my daughter or anything.
Whereas you read something like, let me pull one out of the air, like Turbo Slut 3000 or whatever it is that Jesse wrote. Have you read that? It's like, Jesus Christ.
I haven't read that myself. I need to. It's been on my list.
Oh my God. It's the funniest thing I've read in my life. It's unbelievable because Jesse does dialogue really, really well. Anyway, he does these sort of, it's a bit like the Rob Zombie of sort of, sort of token rate writing. You know what I mean? He sort of some of the dialogue that he does Hicks really well, and he does, you know, that seedy characters really, really well.
Yeah.
And you got like robots that shoot acid out of the nipples, and the vaginas produce I don't know, gum that chews people's penises, and all sorts of really weird random sort of things, you know, like face-sitting disfigurements and stuff like that.
Yeah, he sounds. His horror sounds like what was that? Those cult classic type things, like Toxic Avenger and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
Where it's like really nasty, but it's everybody's like, you know, they love it, but no, you know, they buy the movie once it's out. It doesn't like make big in the box office, but it like sells a long time afterwards. It's like that cult classic. Like, oh yeah, I know that
a lot of that, like Grindhouse theater and all that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, you know, horror has a lot of different faces. You need all of them. You need every, you know. There's a place for everything. I mean, look at Halloween. When you see all the horror movies, it's mostly sort of B-rated horror movies out. You know, that's the fun horror. You know, that's it's spooky, but you know, then you get the really truthful sort of gritty life horror. Then you got the really over the top cult classic horror, things like that. You know, it's just many faces.
I mean, I grew up watching Evil Dead, you know, the trilogy and stuff, and they're all sort of B movies. Army of Darkness, the third one's possibly, it was theatrical release and everything, weren't it? But yeah, no, I love those films. But if my dad was to watch it, he'd probably say it was cheesy as anything, you know. He you know, but
you went to see Bruce just last night, right?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, it was. You know, it's one of those where, you know, they say don't meet your heroes and stuff. And if honest to God, I swear on my mother's life, if anything, you know, if I had to pick someone that I wanted to meet, you know, of anyone in the world, any celebrity, it'd have been Bruce.
Yeah.
So I was really stoked, and I was really lucky to get a ticket as well for it. It was, again, the beauty of Twitter. You know, I put out a shout. The ticket sold out like literally within a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
There was only 150. It was quite a sort of intimate thing. So I was absolutely gutted, and I just kept putting shout outs on Twitter, and Kendall Reviews retweeted it. And I think the girl that sort of eventually got in contact with me only on Friday had sort of seen me through that, and she offered me a ticket. And the tickets were like the equivalent of like $10 just to get in, or you could pay like $25 for the book as well. And she had a $10 ticket, and she said, you know, don't worry about it. My friend wasn't coming; he's paid for it. You can have it.
Now that's something you don't see often. Because usually people are like, oh, $500.
Yeah, there's some really genuine people out there, which is sort of quite refreshing to see. But I literally just met her at the venue. She you know, got in, sort of, and it was fantastic to sit and watch Bruce sort of do a Q&A for about, I think it was about half an hour to an hour, and then afterwards he did a signing as well.
Do you remember this?
That was brilliant. You know, it's you do get no matter how sort of you build yourself up or whatever. It's when you meet someone who's such an icon, you know, you've spoke non-stop about for years, you know, when you eventually meet them, you just sort of crumble a little bit. And I sort of when it came to the signing, I sort of approached the table and I said, "How's the signing hand, Bruce?" You know, because he was sort of obviously signing a lot of autographs. And then that's when he says, whatever, how's it going, Gary?
He's probably like being a wise guy.
Yeah. See,
how do you think it's going, Gary? Look at my freaking hand here. It's like all freaking bent.
And I got to shake his hand as well, which is, I don't know. Yeah, I don't feel like washing it now, you know. This is a guy that when I was growing up in college and at university, It started off like, you know, when you have like an ironic appreciation of a film, and you and your friends sort of laugh about it.
Yeah.
Me and my sort of small group of friends used to watch the Evil Dead films, Evil Dead 2 in particular. You know, like the comedic elements to it, and it was like one of them, you know, where you'd all meet up and get the beers and watch Evil Dead, and it sort of moved on from there. And I started collecting. I've got a few. I'm not as hardcore as some of the collectors that were there last night, but I did do a little bit of collecting and stuff. And I've got a few pieces of merchandise up in the attic and stuff. But to actually meet him, that was just absolutely fun. And he was such a nice guy as well.
Yeah, I mean, the girl that you got the tickets from. I mean, I was kind of scared for you, man, because you're like, I'm going to meet this girl.
But people said that.
When you look up her profile, she looks like, you know, she's a fun person. She met a lot of people. It looks like Negan, the guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. She seems like a nice person. I mean, to give you the ticket, she's for free. You said, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that's incredible. I mean,
man, first thing I said was, really, you know, sorry, go on, Tapia.
No, I was saying that really is amazing that she just gave them away for free. That's a big heart right there. I would have charged you at least
awesome.
100. Gotta eat.
But you don't know who you're meeting either, do you? And Lisa, you know, my partner, she was like, "So you're meeting a girl then?"
Oh no!
I was like, "Well, yeah, but you know."
So we missed a question from Callie. I don't know if you guys seen that. If you guys have any superstitions when you write, anything you have to do before writing.
I was just thinking about that the other day too.
What about you, Manuel?
I don't. For me personally, I don't think I really have too much of any superstitions or anything. I definitely have something to drink, whether it's a coffee, water, or beer, depending on the time of day. Sometimes,
yeah.
And there's been a weekend in the morning where beer sounded good. So, but I don't think I would actually have any superstition of having maybe a clutter. Maybe it has to be disorganized around me. Maybe that might be close to a superstition around me. That's just maybe because I get too lazy to clean sometimes, or I feel crunched in time that I have to write. I'd rather write, you know, these 2 pages than to spend that time cleaning. So, what about you, Jeffrey?
Yeah, well, you will.
Well, the movie I was thinking about was that Misery, where he has to. I think he opens up a cigar or a cigarette to write the end of the books. He has some ritual where and I was saying.
Yeah, he's got a cigarette behind his ear, hasn't he? At the end.
He has to like light it up, and then he has to write the and even Stephen King, I think I read somewhere that he based it off of something where he has, I don't know if it's his wife or he has someone next to him.
Right, the last sentence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, when I think of these superstitions, I always think of them. I put them away somewhere because I'm like, this would be a cool scene in a book or something, but. Whenever I say like, oh, I'm writing from this, like at my job, I hate the day job and everything, and I have the pads with the logo on it, and I'm like, oh, I'm writing on this. Will that mean that this is going to be not a success? Because it's cursed now because of my job. And I say that's bullshit. You know, it's what's inside you and it's what you got to do. If anything, superstitions. It's sort of like when you go and you lift up you go for a penny and it says, oh, pick it up or you're not gonna have luck. I say, you got to make your own luck, man. So I think of it. I think it's funny. I laugh at it. Sometimes it does. Like I think about, like I worry about it, and I'm like, maybe there's a story there. But most of the time, you just got you got to go through. You just got to push through, because if not, it's sort of like you're pushing yourself into a box, and then it's like these fears that build up inside you, and then nothing will get done.
Well,
at the same time, it could keep you from writing too, because if it's that one thing you don't have around you that made your last story a success, so you really need it by you, and you don't have it, you're not going to write it. So
like a
definitely a way to push through no matter what.
I don't think I have any sort of superstitions in that sort of sense, but I did used to write on I used to always write my stories on a tablet. with a little Bluetooth keyboard. Even though I had a laptop, like a brand new laptop, sort of sat under the bed upstairs, just not being used. And I sort of stuck with that for a while. And I don't think it was I don't know if it's superstition or not. I just felt really comfortable using it, and the thought of using a laptop just didn't sit right with me for some reason. And so I sort of stuck with that for a while. But for the past sort of 6 months or so, I thought, right, no, I'm being silly here. I need a better version of Word to sort of do what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I dug the laptop out from under the bed and sort of dusted it off and started using it. And it's one of the best things I've done, in terms of polishing my work.
Yeah.
You run an old story through it, and you can set up parameters where it picks out passive sentences and, the usual sort of standard garbage that new writers tend to sort of do. It sort of picks most of that stuff up.
I think even
highlights it to you.
Even old writers do that. I mean,
yeah, well, true.
Yeah.
So I was like, well,
everybody ends up
done,
types the way that they write,
yeah,
that they speak. At least for myself, I find a lot of it dealing with that. It's all a lot of my work is definitely polished off in the edits, and the first draft is usually shit. But I guess they say everybody's is. But there's definitely a lot of rewording and correcting things.
Yeah.
My first usually deal a lot with just getting the idea down. When my ideas and my creativity kind of spikes, I'm very sporadic, just everything, notes or because I get scared I'm gonna forget this one little detail that really needs to be in the story that usually gets it out anyway.
Yeah, I mean it's like what they say, I always have
what
one
do they say, Will?
where I totally forget the freaking phrase I'm going to say.
Yeah, way to build tension there, Will. What do they say? What do they say? Tell me.
I totally forgot that I had like the phrase and everything.
I'm sure it'd have been profound.
Yeah, tell me what say what you were going to say, Gary, and I'll remember it.
I don't know what I was going to say.
It's like one part towards the end of the ending middle sort of the podcast. It's this happens.
Oh goodness.
Yeah, I mean it's. I mean, what was the subject?
It was superstition.
Oh, that okay, yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's where we started. Superstitions.
Yeah, I mean it's just you gotta go through with what you feel inside. You guys gotta push through and can't let anything keep you down, because once those things keep you down, forget about it. Nothing will ever happen, and I think that's what makes writers and people who want to write. You may have somebody that comes out of the gate running really fast, and you're like, oh shit, look at this, but eventually things. It's all a part of how many times you could be knocked down, and if you get up again. It's like that saying from Rocky. I keep thinking of Rocky saying how much it's not about going and doing as much it's if you can get knocked down and keep going, that's the most important. I mean,
the sadist in me there was wanting you to forget what Rocky had said. I was really hoping you were going to go, you know what Rocky said, and then you just go quiet.
Gary's got mind powers. You probably made me forget what I was going to say before.
So, what are you guys reading at the moment?
I'm actually reading Zero Saints by Gabino Iglesias.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm listening to Bone White by Ronald Malfi, I believe his name is.
Oh, yeah, he's one I want to read.
As well as Stephen King's It. I just started that audiobook.
Awesome.
I have that on compact disc, and I listen to that when I drive to work. And then while I'm at work, I have, like the Audible app.
Yeah, same app.
I'm listening to Bone White.
You can't get that
it's
on.
It's good. I'm loving it. I'm about halfway.
Yeah.
He's a very good writer, and his style and his story I'm very much enjoying his the Bone White right now.
That's cool. You can't get that on Audible UK at all. You can get it on .com, but UK you can't. I'm really annoyed at that.
Really?
So I really wanted to get it.
I have an app where it's pretty much it's connected through my library account, so I can get Audible or audiobooks through there and listen to them through my phone, just like if it was Audible.
Nice.
That's cool.
I like to do that. I've discovered some pretty hidden gems out there.
No, that's cool. But you will.
Me. So,
Bear Monthly?
no. Actually, you guys are going to probably look down on me, but I'm reading like so many things at the same time. Between the day job and writing and then all this other stuff, I had to like kind of duck out with certain things because with Jesse Deadman, because he was doing the show a little too late for me, and it was like kind of killing me. But I had to also like get some writing projects done. The whole thing with our podcast was going to be we could do it, when we have a chance or when we have, time to do it. So that whole thing was good, but or is good. But the stories that I'm reading when I get the chance, so they're going slow. I'm reading Sugar Skulls. I'm like halfway through that, I believe. Itch from Medina.
Oh, yeah.
Next one.
Yeah. I'm also reading a story from I'm reading Dan Brown, Origins.
Oh,
That's the latest one, right?
Yeah, and it's pretty good. It's just that, you start reading it and then the book's smacking you in the face as you fall asleep,
Yeah.
So it's
the sad thing, to go off that, sorry to interrupt, but
yeah.
The audiobooks I can read, or listen to maybe 2 books a week. My ebooks, I usually try to read something during lunch and all that, so those take even a short story could take me a week to complete.
It's rough. It gets really rough, man.
And the paperbacks, because I love having paperbacks, maybe just the nostalgia itself, but I'm lucky to read 10 pages before going to bed.
I'm the same. I'll collect them, but it's all about the audiobooks.
And it really sucks because you as a writer you're really supposed to just like absorb as much as you can,
Yeah, but that's for the writers that
have time.
Have time, exactly.
Yeah.
Instead of having families and working 40, 50 hours a week.
Yeah. Well, I guess if you put it into perspective, if you take out all the work time, you still are reading a lot compared to like if you had all that, because you have to remove all the time for the day job, the family. I mean, so these other writers probably have their families and everything. So you just their whole thing is they're negating the day job, so they can read. But if you put our time that we have actually to do all this, we probably are still reading a lot compared to a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, like Tapia said, I sort of consume between 1 and 2 audiobooks a week, maybe, with Audible. I think that the latest one I've listened to is Mapping the Interior by, I can't remember the name of the guy that wrote it. He won the Bram Stoker this year.
Nice.
That's really good. Stephen Graham Jones. But yeah, that's a really good story. And the one before that was A Head Full of Ghosts.
How did you like that one? I enjoyed that one.
Yeah, did you audiobook it or did you read it?
I was able to read that one. That one I read during my time off from work for my shoulder surgery.
Right. I thought it was really, really good. On the audiobook, the parts where it's sort of the blogger, when she's sort of blogging about what's been happening, the narrator was actually very, very good, but she was a little bit annoying in those parts. She sort of put on this sort of like bubblegum sort of popping, like some sort of college girl sort of persona on there, which was a little bit annoying. But I thought it was a fantastic story.
I might have to check out this Audible, man, because like sometimes I'm driving for like an hour or two, and I'm just listening to podcasts, but I could be like reading.
Yeah, that's where I get most of my reading done, is sadly through but it's still reading, still listening to the audiobook, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, same here, exactly the same.
Yeah, I mean, you're still getting the story.
And I've done that for quite a while. That's what actually opened my eyes to attempt to get all of HSP's titles on audiobook, because there are people out there that they don't have time to pick up a book. But I've met so many people that say they drive an hour to work, 2 hours to work daily.
Yeah.
And listen to audiobooks there. I was like, well, there's another audience there as well.
Mm-hmm. I think if HSP sort of pursues the idea of publishing their stories as audiobooks as well, I think it's fantastic, because I don't think many other small presses do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're missing out on a big chunk of.
Oh, definitely.
Sales.
I mean, yeah.
And it's definitely a fun process too, going through with narrators and the whole audition process and everything. It's definitely fun.
The casting couch.
Yeah, exactly. The PG-13 version. Just down to
Tapia's casting couch. Come and sit down. Talk to me for a bit.
I want to talk to you.
Hey, I'm looking at your the eye in the Di-Fi experiment.
Oh yeah.
And it looks like there's a guy. Like, if you look at the bottom left portion of the eye, it looks like there's a guy eating the brains of or zombie eating the brains of a guy.
Really?
Yeah, like the bottom left portion of the eye, of the missing eye. Wait, I think the loop will be coming up again.
I'm gonna have to look that up. Zoom in.
Anyway, guys, I'm going to have to go in a moment, so I'm nearly time's nearly up.
Yeah, I got to start dinner.
So what are we having today?
Oh, it's the Sunday Italian pasta thing.
Nice.
Meat sauce.
That's always good. Always good stuff. All right, gentlemen. Well, I appreciate you guys having me on the show and chatting me up.
No, it's been really good. You're our first guest.
Yeah. Oh, we have, and just to let everybody know, we do have a surprise guest next week. I'm not gonna say anything just yet. I just want to make sure. But probably sometime.
He's a best-selling author. He's sold. His works include Cujo and.
Imagine.
No, I'm joking.
That's funny. I might have peed myself a little bit right there.
He's like, I'm on next week too, guys.
Yeah. Phone in. Hi, Steve. All right, gentlemen. Well, I guess I'll sign out. Again, thank you guys very much, and enjoy the rest of your evenings.
You too. Take care. Thanks for being on.
Of course. Thank you, guys.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Gary.
Yes.
Okay. I was going to see. So we're going to check in, see what's going on with our guest next week. I just want to make sure before we say anything definite, and we have to also check our own schedules to make sure everything's going on. But even if it's just a half an hour, even if it's just
Yeah. So I mean, if that's when he can do it, we'll sort of I'll get him on. Absolutely.
Yeah. I just found out something real cool before you go. I was looking at my cell phone, and the YouTube app I'm looking at, it doesn't have the go live function. I'm like, everything has go live function now. It's like the Facebook has it, everything has it, and I opened up the YouTube app and it said now you can go live. Like, it was, I was like, holy crap! Like, this is so cool, So that's why I put out that little video saying, check it out. I was like testing it out, see what's going on.
Yeah. It is good. I'm so glad of that, really, especially that Bruce Campbell thing, because when you got in the queue, it was like, it's like being a battery hen on a production line or something. You sort of get to the front of the queue, and there's a guy there, and he tells you exactly, he checks what you've got to make sure Bruce can sign it, and then he literally hands you to Bruce.
Oh my God!
And at the same time, he advises you to sort of pass your phone to this guy who sort of stood at the side taking photos. But the guy who took the photos with your phone did a really bad job of it, and he was probably just going snap, 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 you know, as I was sort of interacting with it, and the pictures were all blurred, you know, as is, but because of the live function, you can sort of pick a moment in time, you know, like 3 seconds before and 3 seconds after the main photograph.
Yeah.
So
that's an iPhone you have, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, they have that function.
Yeah. And it's really good because it also picks up audio as well. So, and there's an app you can get where you can extract that as a video or a GIF. So when you extract it as a video, it's got the audio on it. And you know, because he was sort of snapping away, this guy, you can pick out a HD quality photograph out of, you know, all the frames that were taken.
Yeah.
And two, you can sort of more or less listen to most of the conversation I had with him, you know, with Bruce.
Oh yeah.
Which is great.
The Hi Gary thing, right?
Yeah, that's where I got that from. So yeah, no, it's really good, and the whole live video things. Yeah,
that's what fantastic. I do sometimes with my camera. I try to take the video and then take the pictures out of the video. Like Samsung has a feature like that where you can get these really crisp pictures out of something you were like, oh, I can't believe I got that, you know?
Mm. Yeah, yeah, totally.
All right, well, we got our viewers leaving. So we'll
Tapia was the draw.
He was the one. It's like, oh, Tapia's gone. Screw this shit.
No, it was a really good show actually. Tapia's a really good. He's an eloquent guest, and you know, he's quite knowledgeable as well. So it was nice to sort of hear him, sort of his opinions on things.
Get in on his world.
Definitely.
All right. Well, we're gonna go and wrap this up. I'm gonna go cook. You're gonna probably go to sleep.
I'll be over in 7 hours. Just keep that pasta hot.
Yeah. You got it, man. You got it.
All right, man. I'll take care. I'll talk to you next time.
You got it, man. Talk to you later.
Bye.